So again, if you ever need to double check your scratch discs, you can go to Final Cut Pro, System Settings, and again, if you own your own software, it'll always open up the last project you had as long as that last project is on the hard drive you plug in, and it will leave your scratch disk set to those locations, which we can tell. So the part I want you to go to is the part where we have the girls' interview that we were working on with the B-roll. And what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to make lower thirds. Now, you don't really use this quite often. However, like with Hail State Television, they add their own graphics and their own text to it when they put it on the web. Say you want to make a commercial or a video for your sorority or fraternity, or just you want to do something a little more creative on your own. You might want to add text. Now, this is the absolute basics of text. There's a lot about text we could go into with Final Cut Pro, but we don't want to use all our time on that because it's not super important. It's just kind of nice for you to know about it. So if you had a project open you needed to close, you can just hit the Control key and click on the viewer and say Close Tab, or actually really you should just go up and say Close Project. Then you can say Open, and then you can pick this project. And then you can go then up to, I don't need a new sequence, let me delete that. Then you can go up to Final Cut Pro, System Settings. Remember, we need to set the top one to the same place where your Summer Scholars folder is. Remember, it's very important to be organized. So that's going to be your external hard drive, Final Cut Pro Documents, Summer Scholars, or whatever you called it. And then on the bottom three, set it to the same location. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go on and I'll repeat this. So remember, I will go a little bit, not what I consider fast, but I'm sure you consider it fast the first time. Then I'll go back and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. It's just so that way if somebody gets it the first time, they can go ahead and move on with it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to make text. Now there's a variety of ways to make text, and there's a variety of ways you would use text. Like if you were making a commercial, I would add text in here or in After Effects probably, but we don't have that software. So if you go to your viewer, remember viewer is where you can view clips, edit clips, but it's also where you can create things as well. So if you look on your viewer, on the bottom right corner, you'll see there's text. So if you want, you can just make the text now if you want, and then you can do her interview. So we'll go click on the text tool. Now that actually isn't just a text tool, it's actually what we call the character generator menu. It means it generates characters like shapes, text. So if you click on that, you can then go down to where it says text, and you'll notice you have crawl, which crawls across the screen like you see for NASDAQ or sports scores. Lower third is for lower thirds. Outline is an outline text. Scrolling scrolls up kind of like the Star Wars text. Text is just stationary text, and it goes wherever you want. Typewriter types it out like you're on a typewriter, like a letter or two by a letter or two. So we're going to go to lower third. So we're going to go text, lower third. Again, that's the character generator menu that's on the bottom. That's an A. Now you can see up here it says sample text 1, sample text 2. Now that means that that's currently what it says, but we want it to be Amy's name. So what we're going to do is we're going to control something about this text. So that's why we're going to go to the Control tab in your viewer. And you'll see on the top it's going to say sample text 1. Well, we know that's going to be her name. So her name is Amy. Ooh. And we usually do all capital letters. Some graphics with ESPN we do all caps, some we do regular, so I'll take either or. Amy, so, oh, I spelled it wrong. Fortenberry, there's an R. F-O-R-T-E-N-B-E-R-R-Y. So Fort, and then the letter N, or E-N, and then Berry, F-O-R-T-E-N, Berry, Jackson. So that's her first name. Now we have to give her a title. So this is where it comes into play, finding the beginning of her interview. So I have Amy interview here. I'm going to lose my text. So don't double click anything, because when you double click it, you lose your text. So we're going to hear what she says. I'm going to go back and I'm going to type her name, Amy, A-M-Y, Fortenberry, F-O-R-T-E-N-B-E-R-R-Y, Jackson, like Mississippi. Her title is costumer, costume, ear. I'm pretty sure that's how you would spell it. But so I don't look stupid, I'm going to use Google. Costumer. Theater is with an R-E. This is something you actually probably might not be aware of. A lot of people are not actually aware of. When you go to a movie theater, it's T-H-E-A-R, T-H-E-A-T-E-A-T-E-R, theater, like movie theater. But if you go to a play where they're performing a play, it's Theatre. So RE after the T signifies that people are performing, whereas ER is signifying that you're at like a drive-in or a regular movie theater. She calls herself a costumer. I would say that sounds more slang-like. Everything is coming up costume designer. So I would say, let's say costume designer, because costumer looks like we made a mistake. So let's go with, instead of slang, the proper terminology that's popping up, costume designer. So I'm going to go back here and say costume designer. All right, so then if you go back to the video, you can see this is what it would look like. It's kind of hard to see because it's against the transparent background. That's what those squares mean. It means that there's nothing there. It says Amy Fortenberry Jackson, costume designer. Now, often when you see lower thirds on TV, they often have a color behind them. Now, yours might be black. That's fine. It doesn't mean black's coming with it. So we're going to go back to the Control tab. And you'll notice if you go down and you scroll down, you can adjust the background. And it says background none. So if we go to none, we can click on it and say, let's do a bar. And I'll show you what the bar looks like. The bar looks like just this tiny little line. I don't think that looks great. So what I'm going to do is, instead of that, I'm going to go to solid. Now, when we think about the color of the bar behind the text, there's a couple things we want to think about. What are some things you think you might want to think about when picking a color for the bar behind the text? Colors in the video, definitely. Because if it's a light background and we use a white background, it's going to be difficult to read. Anything else? Font color. If I use a white font on a white background, nobody's going to be able to read that. You could use black. You also want to think about colors that work well on TV. This hot pink, yellow, not great. More normal colors like a blue. Like if you watch most television, it's going to be like a blue, a red, a maroon, a gray. So you're going to want to use like a typical color. So to change that background, you can click on this square, because this square allows you to change the color of it. So seafoam green, love it, one of my favorite colors. Horrible for television. A deep blue is better than like a bright blue or a hot pink. So pick a color like a deep blue, a deep red, even a deep green, like deeper colors, not bright neon colors. Those are like assaulting on your eyes. So I'm going to just go with a deep blue and I'm going to press OK. Now if I go to the video tab, you're going to see, now I can see it's going to say Amy Fortenberry Jackson, costume designer, and it's blue. Now, yeah, perfect. Green's fine. Green's fine. Now the thing is with this, the blue, if you look up here, I'm going to show you what it looks like. Down here, I can just drag and drop. And now this is Amy Fortenberry Jackson, costume designer. But I'm also going to show you the difference. The other thing I could do is, so if I go to the Control tab, you'll notice under background it says solid, which is good because I want a solid bar. But it also says opacity. Opacity means 100% means it's 100% of the blue. I can't see through it. But it's kind of like, you know how you have some shirts that are sheer? They're a color, but they're sheer, and you can see the tank top beneath them. That's like adjusting the opacity here. So if I put the opacity at maybe 70%, you can see that now I can see the squares behind it, which means if I now pull this over Amy right now, you'll notice that now I can still see a little bit of Amy. Either way is fine. It's just personal preference. I mean, either way is fine. If you want to make it solid, leave it solid. If you do like the way this one looks, the second one, where you see through the bar, not her, Control tab, then you would adjust the opacity. If you want it where it's solid, leave it at 100%. And then I want you to drag and drop it, but make sure you don't cover up any of your B-roll. So after you're done, go back to the video tab, click hold. Let me delete these so you can see. Click hold, and you can see it's coming down, drag and drop. Or you can superimpose it. Now you'll notice if you look up here, that purple means that's where the lower third is. And it even says lower third. I don't want lower third on my B-roll, right? Because that's not Amy Fortenberry Jackson. Yeah, that's her talking, but I don't need that. So I'm going to just move my arrow like we've done in other tutorials, my black arrow, move it to the end of the clip or the lower third in this instance. I'm going to get my double-sided trim arrow and I'm just going to pull it back and trim it. Now it's telling me that my new duration is going to be 6 seconds. See on the right it says 6:02, 6:01, 6 seconds. So when you have a lower third up, not only do you want to make sure that you don't have any errors in it, but you also want to make sure it's up long enough that you can read it. And you have to remember that not everybody reads at the same speed. So what I try to do is if I can read through it 2 or 3 times, because I know I read fast, then that means it's probably up long enough. I usually say the first time you see somebody in your package, you probably want them up for 10 seconds or so, because that way your director can bring in the lower third. But here I'm just having the lower third already in here, so I can bring it down and say, okay, let's watch it and see if it's up long enough.
Now, there are 8 girls this year who have signed up for what's called Summer Theater Workshop. And Summer Theater Workshop is a college credit.
I could read it. Could you read it? So just think about that and then save it, okay? So drag it to the timeline and save it. So this is how you would do lower thirds. So I'm going to save it because I made the change. I'm going to save it. Now my other question is, do you like how it's just automatically there? So if we were watching this as a news package, say we had this B-roll in front of it and a voiceover. Let me move this. Paste. So if we were, say we're in here and I have a voiceover, I'm talking.
Now, there are 8 girls this
Do you like how it just brought her and the graphic in, or do you want the graphic to fade in and fade out? Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do that. And that's called a transition. So I'm just going to move this back over here. So the transition is easy, so I'm going to press save. Now if I'm transitioning, that means it's going to fade in and it's going to fade out. So that's going to take up some of my reading time. So since I know that, I'm going to go ahead right now and increase the time of my lower third. So I'm just going to move my arrow to the end or the out point, get that double-sided trim arrow, and I'm just going to drag it. So instead of 7 seconds, I'm going to go to maybe 8 seconds. 8 seconds. All right, and me, I always save. You don't have to save after every change. I just am a save crazy person. I love to save. And that's Command S and it saves. So now if you go up to your effects tab, this is where we did the color, 3-way color, to change our color. But we can also go, instead of video filters, you'll see there's a folder that says video transition. So again, that's in effects in your browser, that tiny little tab. And then we're going to go to video transitions. And I'm going to hit that arrow. Now you're going to see that there's a dissolve. You can do a cross dissolve, a dip to color dissolve, fade in, fade out. So I'm going to try a cross dissolve. Usually a cross dissolve is fading between 2 items, but you'll notice I'm going to just click and hold on this icon like we did for the color corrector. And you don't want it hanging off. Do you see how it's hanging off, that dark part? We want it just on the pink. Now I'm going to watch it and we're going to see if we like it.
Now, there are 8
Fades
girls
in.
this year who have signed up for what's called Summer Theater Workshop. And Summer Theater Workshop is a college credit that is in
Fades out. Save. Okay, so again, if you don't like it, you can always click on that cross dissolve, that gray square, and hit delete. Click on that cross dissolve, hit delete, and then save. So again, we're going to add the dissolve. So I do want you to do this for the tutorial homework that we're doing in class. So again, that's the effects tab. Hit the reveal arrow by video transitions. I'm going to go to dissolve because I like the dissolve. And then I'm going to hit cross dissolve, click hold on the icon, drag and drop to the purple. It just looks better than, like, let's see, I've never done a page peel on a lower third. I don't even know what that would look like. Let's see, it's probably going to look,
that is in practical theater. And that
you know, it's, what'd you say? Yeah, exactly. It'd be like, whoa. Yeah, whoa. If I was doing that for like a sorority, a PSA, you know, something like that, that would be great. But for news, I agree with Tatiana and Carmen. I agree with them. That is just too much for news. It's like,
that is in practical theater.
you know, a little too much. That's why I do the dissolve. It's just classier. That's why I showed you the dissolve. Again, you just click hold on the icon, holding my mouse down. I don't want it to go over. So this is if I was dissolving between clips. We don't like that in news. Do not dissolve between clips. They like cuts. So I'm going to make sure all of the dissolve, all this gray or dark color is on the lower third, and I'm going to let go, and then I'm going to check my work. Remember, after you make an edit, it's good to go before the edit and watch it to see what it looks like.
Now, there are 8 girls this year who have signed up for what's called Summer Theater Workshop.
I'm so excited. I cannot wait to see these projects from you guys. All right, so I'm going to save it. You're going to have that one shot we talked about, those B-roll shots showing what she talked about, which me personally, I would probably go through all my video and keep looking because there's some shots on there I would want to change out and adjust. But I want you to do this lower third. Then I'm going to show you how to adjust some audio, and then we're going to export this, okay? And then I'm going to show you how to do another lower third, okay? So this is going to be a CG and audio tutorial. Do you have a tape deck plugged into your computer? Okay, so again, if you do have a tape deck plugged into your computer, which we often do because we're capturing tape, you're not going to hear your audio. Because remember we talked about it's going to be, your computer syncing is coming out of the tape deck. So you can go up to Final Cut Pro, Audio Video Settings. So if you ever can't hear your audio but you see the meters moving, it means you probably have your computer thinking it's coming out of what we call FireWire. So I'm going to go to Audio Video Settings, and you want your video playback none and your audio playback default or built-in. And then say OK, because yours probably says FireWire. I agree. I totally agree with Kybrina. The NAT sound is way too loud. So remember, you can turn on down here your show toggle clip overlays, these things that look like a mountain range, and that's going to bring up my pink line. And I could manually go in here and drag all these down. However, I'm going to show you something new. So you could, if you wanted to, just drag these down, right? Drag them down, and then replay it. However, there is another way to adjust all the audio at one time. I'm going to move my playhead to the beginning of the clip, and I'm going to go up to, I believe it's on Tools, Tools Audio Mixer. And what this does is you see I have 1, 2, 3, 4 channels because I have 1, 2, 3, 4 audio channels. So my audio 1 and 2 are going to be kind of high because they are currently the only channels that I have in this area. As it goes on, though, you're going to see that I can pull down these other audio channels for the B-roll. So I can hit play.
Now, there are 8 girls this year who have signed up for what's called Summer Theater
Now,
Workshop.
once the B-roll comes, these will move.
Credit that is in practical theater, and that involves a lot of teaching in scenic construction, prop construction, lighting, sound, and costume construction. So right now we have 4 girls in our shop that we're educating.
Which I think, to me, that's a little bit more of a pain, but it is also nice if you're mixing a lot of audio. This is how, like, say you wanted to do mixing 2 songs together. This is one way you could do that. Let's bring this song in, let's bring this song out, bring this part in, bring this part out. So you can see now it's adjusted my audio, but I'm having to go back and replay it because these aren't linked for some reason. They should be linked. I don't know why they're not linked. They should do both at the same time. Okay, so you'll notice that was kind of annoying, right? I had to adjust one at a time, one at a time, one at a time. Well, what you can do is, instead of having to adjust the audio 3 and 4 independently, I can go up, I can select the audio. I don't know if it'll let me do it for all of them. And I'm going to say stereo pair. Stereo pair means now I can adjust both of these at the same time. So if you had that problem like I did where it only let you adjust one at a time, you can highlight, again using your arrow, clicking and holding, drawing an imaginary box, and go up and say modify stereo pair. Now when I do this again, it's going to be a lot easier. I can just drag one and it'll drag both.
It involves a lot of teaching in scenic construction, prop construction, lighting, sound, and costume construction. So right now we have 4 girls in our shop that we're educating.
So instead of where I had to draw the left one and the right one, the left one and the right one, if you make them a stereo pair, it means that you can adjust the left and the right channel together as a pair. So these are the some of the ways that I would edit audio. You could load this clip back up into the viewer, then go to stereo, then adjust the audio here, but that's another step, and that's more time. So the ways that I think are quicker to help you save time in editing audio is just turn on your show toggle clip overlays, and then just drag it down. Or you can go up to Tools, Audio Mixer, and then you can play it. Move your playhead to where you want it to be. Play it,
Now, there are 8 girls
and adjust it here.
who have signed up for what's called Summer Theater Workshop.
So I just want you to know this exists because some people really like this method.
In practice,
So which way do you think you like better? The audio mixer and adjusting them up here, or just dragging down here? I personally like dragging, but I can see how the audio mixer might be advantageous. It's whatever method you want to do. There is not enough time in this class, there is not enough time in the fall semester to teach all that Final Cut Pro can do. It's just, I want you to know the audio mixer exists. So if you just want to turn on the show toggle clip overlays, the mountain range is what I call it, and drag these pink lines down and have your audio done that way, that is completely fine. And then I'm going to save it. So I want you to go ahead and adjust your nat sound for your B-roll so it's low so we can still hear Amy. I know I've said it a gazillion times last classes. I'm really excited. I think you guys improved compositionally on this. I cannot wait to see the final products. All right? So that's what I want from you is a lower third with her name properly spelled title. I want it to crossfade in and crossfade out. The text does need to be up for long enough so I can read it. I also want her audio levels between -6 and -12. And I want the B-roll audio low so it's not distracting. Some people pull it all the way out. I always was taught to keep some in because it gives you, sound helps take you there. Like when you watch basketball games, when they have announcers talking, we still hear the squeak of the sneaker and the bounce of the rim and things like that. So I personally like a little bit. Now the only problem is that I was talking to one of the groups and I was talking kind of low and then we kind of all chuckled a little bit about what was going on. I would take the net sound out of that, right? So if I'm going to take the net sound out of that, I would probably take them out on all. So for me, since we're kind of laughing in this last one,
right now, we have 4 girls in our shop.
I have it so low you can't hear it. But if I have it up higher where you can hear the net sound, you're going to hear us kind of chuckling. So if you don't have any issues with that, then you can have your nat sound low. But if my nat sound is at -6 and -12, it's going to be competing with her because she's going to be at -6 and -12 decibels. So you're going to want your nat sound quite a bit lower. So again, I'm going to watch my audio meters.
Now, there are 8 girls.
She's at 18, between 18 and 12. She's not even hitting the 12. So that means I need to boost her. So the way I can boost her is I can just go to my pink line, see my double-sided arrow, and this is not trim, this is just one that can adjust the arrow up and down. And if it's at 18, I'm going to add the 4 decibels, and this should probably get me there.
You have signed up for what's called Summer Theater Workshop.
Not quite there, so I'm going to move her up maybe to 6, 5 or 6, or 5.
Summer Theater Workshop is a college
Now she's hitting at 12.
that is in practical theater, and that involves a lot of teaching in scenic construction, prop construction, lighting, sound, and costume construction. So right now we have 4 girls in our shop that we're educating. They come 2 days a week to costumes.
And that's what I want. So Amy's audio needs to be between -12 and -6. If it's just at 12, that's fine. That's still in a good range. The nat sound in the B-roll needs to be lower. You need to have a crossfade for the lower third in and lower third out. Okay? And we need that B-roll we had over her talking about the things we have B-roll for. B-roll. Yeah. So you're going to have to find B-roll. But then if you are done, what I want you to do is we're going to export this. And we're going to save it on your hard drive. And then I'm going to pass around a jump drive. And we're going to put it on my jump drive. Because this is part of our Final Cut Pro tutorial homework section in the syllabus. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do an in and an out point. Since I have stuff on the beginning of my timeline and after my timeline, I'm going to put an in point on the timeline. I'm going to put an out point at the end of Amy. Then I'm going to export it. And I'm going to go up and I'm going to say File, Export, QuickTime Conversion. We shot this on a mini DV camera. So we're going to call it your first initial, last name, text 1. It is going to be a QuickTime movie. I'm going to make sure I pick my hard drive. I'm going to go down to where my Final Cut Pro Documents is. And then I'm going to go to my Summer Scholars, and I'm going to say Options for QuickTime Movie. Instead of H.264, that's the settings they use sometimes with ESPN, also with Facebook and YouTube, so I don't want that. I'm going to go Settings, under Video, This is dealing with how it compresses the video, how it formats it. So we're going to go up arrow, and we're going to go to DV, DVC Pro, NTSC, because that is what we shot on, and we are in America, so NTSC. I want the best quality on the compressor, so it's good looking. I'm going to say OK. Down here under audio, I'm going to click audio, and I'm going to change it this time. I'm going to just change it from normal to best, and that's all. And then I'm going to say OK, OK, and save. Now, what do you think I'm going to recommend you do after you export it? Watch it. Watch it. Everybody, you're gonna do that. Now, when do I recommend for you to color correct? Because obviously I would need to, if I was making this in my final package, I would want to color correct that, adjust some exposure. Why do you think I'm not having you do that right now? Is my picture locked? No, because remember I said I want to go back and I want to change out some B-roll shots, if this were me. So you always sweeten the audio and adjust the color at the end when you know that is what you want to include in your package. That way you're not wasting time color correcting, adjusting audio on something you're going to end up cutting out. But I wanted you to adjust the audio when you did this text tutorial to kind of help remind you and get you back in the flow of audio. So I'm going to come help you.